Ye- Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Roy's Tie-Dye Sci-Fi Corner. This is episode number 243, Bram Stoker's Dracula, the classic 1970 film starring Christopher Lee. And also with me tonight, not very amused, is my friend and my co-host, the one and only Mr. Ross Amico. Ross, welcome.
Hey, Roy.
And lurking in the shadows somewhere is my wife, Shari.
Is she coming back?
She's trying to come back.
Right.
The device is not connecting. She's having the issues that you usually have, Ross. I think what I may actually do is just have her come up here, and then we'll just do the show up here together.
Well, I had to, whenever I do any editing work on my computer, I have to reboot it.
Yeah.
Reset it.
Yeah, it's all good. But yeah, she's trying to do tune in through the iPad, and the iPad is not cooperating. So anyway, with that said, I want to welcome the folks that are out there tuning in. And I see Jeff Rubel is joining us, and he's joining us from Utah. Welcome, Jeff.
Wow.
And Lou is out there. Hey, Lou, welcome to the show.
Did you change something with the settings now that I can actually see these people?
No.
It's a larger.
I know, it looks really cool.
They must have upgraded it or something.
Yeah, it must be an upgrade.
Yeah.
Lou's joining us from Rhode Island.
Hey, Lou.
May is joining us, and she's joining us from Canada. Welcome, May. And then Brennan is also joining us, and he's joining us from Massachusetts. Great show. I think you're starting to rub off on.
I know. I think we're on the same wavelength.
Oh, there she is.
Phone.
She's back on the phone.
I'm on my iPhone.
She's on the iPhone.
My
She
goodness.
upgraded.
Sorry about that. I have an antiquated iPad,
Nah, it's okay.
but it was free.
Well, there you go. I can actually give you a stand, and then that might make it a little bit easier so you don't have to hold your phone.
No, it's okay. I have it up against my iPad.
Okay. All right. So you're good.
So the iPad's good for something.
Yeah. It's good for a stand.
Welcome, hun. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
When was the last time you were here? What did we discuss?
We did Soylent Green, where people were eating people.
Whoa.
And now people are drinking people's blood.
I sense a theme.
When was that? How many years ago?
Believe it or not, that was in 2020.
Wow.
Or was it 2021? I think it was 2020.
I don't remember.
Was it?
No, it was
during the pandemic, or did I have the beard or not?
Yeah, you had the beard.
I think so.
It was 2020.
It's 2020.
It was in October of 2020. So literally, that was
Wow.
4 years. That was the last time you were on the show.
Wow.
That was 4 years.
That's a long time.
How the heck has 4 years gone by already?
Well, there was that unofficial ban
Ban.
where we wouldn't let Sherry on the show.
Oh, Oh, that's right.
Megan, please let me on the show. Yeah. No. It didn't happen.
She's back.
That's the best.
I'm back.
That's the best you're going to get tonight, by the way.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm not seeing our YouTube viewers out there. I hope YouTube made it. If you are on YouTube and you are tuning in, please say hello. But I'm not sure if we're having technical issues. So I do apologize, folks. But hey, it wouldn't be the show without them, right? So I hope everybody's doing well. Yeah, it's been it's been a little bit turbulent, but anyway, we're going to forge on, and we're going to talk about this movie. Ross, I'll start with you. Did you ever see this film prior to watching it to discuss our show?
For our Thanksgiving movie. No, I'd never seen it. In fact, my friend Matt Anthony, who's usually watching the show, he had just watched it recently, and he had recommended it to me. And it was before you even mentioned it, so I was going to watch it anyway at some point. And you brought it up, and I said, okay, let's do it.
Cool.
So no, I hadn't seen it before.
Gotcha. Yeah.
How about you?
No, I had not seen this film before, and I had seen most of the Dracula movies that Christopher Lee did, the Hammer films, so to speak. But
Exactly.
but this one kind of slipped through the cracks. Before I go on and ask Shari about that, I want to say hi to Vince, quote unquote Vinny. Vinny is joining us, and he's joining us from Stewartsville, New Jersey. Welcome,
Hi,
Vince.
Vinny.
I have family buried in Stewartsville.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Would I kid you about that?
Okay.
Sorry.
At least they were buried the last I checked.
Oh man.
It just kind of took me off guard, Ross.
Well, it fits the theme of the movie. And Thanksgiving.
And Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Don't forget about Thanksgiving.
We're thankful for vampires.
Yeah, Jeff. Definitely technical digression.
Oh man.
We are on a roll right now. Did you ever see this film before?
I never saw this film before we watched it together. My first memory of my Count Dracula film was Frank Langella.
There you go.
I was like 18 or 19, and I fell in love with Frank Langella.
Didn't we discuss that movie on here, Ross?
We did. At least we got to see him walking down the wall in that movie.
Yeah.
They didn't do it in the Christopher Lee version. I always wanted to see the Broadway play.
Yeah.
When they revived it and he was in it, but I didn't get to see it.
No.
Do you remember the commercial though? I love New York, especially in the evenings. Remember you flap the cape?
I vaguely remember that.
Yeah. It was one of those I Love New York commercials with all the musicals and obviously plays. So
Didn't he do Dracula like 10 different times? Christopher Lee?
who's that? Oh, Christopher Lee. Yeah, he did it a bunch of times. I don't know how many, but yeah. Well, he did. I think he did. Yeah, I think you're right because he did all. I think there were 9 for Hammer, and he did this one. I think.
And this is the first time I ever saw him do Dracula. So.
Oh,
you never saw Christopher Lee do Dracula before?
Oh, no. You have to see the Hammer movies. Yeah.
Wow.
I definitely have to see the Hammer movies.
Yeah. Because while this one is the most faithful to the book, there's more blood in all senses in the Hammer book. There's more passion in the Hammer movies than there is in this movie. Yeah. For better or worse.
Well, we'll have to watch them, honey.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would say probably this film for worse.
It's kind of the most turgid. But he liked it. Christopher Lee was fond of it because he got to play, the book,
right.
Supposedly. So he was proud of his performance. But
his performance was decent. It's just that the movie itself, though, was it needed a little more oomph, and it just didn't have it.
Yeah, it has its admirers. It's rare that they stuck as closely to the book in the adaptations. And this one also strays from the book. I think a lot of it was for budgetary reasons. because they ran out of money. Jess Franco, the director, was notorious for never having enough money to make his movies. So they'd always cut out whole sequences. But I mean, it was a miracle it turned out as well as it did, because this is good by Jess Franco standards.
That's like a lot.
I'm no expert. He did over 170 movies, but
right.
From what I understand, he's it's not for no reason that he's sometimes called the European Ed Wood.
Oh, there you go. Brennan said he also appeared as Dracula in The Magic Christian, a Peter Sellers comedy. Right. There you go.
Wow.
Terry Southern.
Yeah. What was I going to say about that? In regard, the Hammer films, what was really cool is a lot of the Hammer movies they used. I was talking about being at Black Park. A lot of the live action was filmed there, and where it was out in the woods, and it was made to be like really dark and spooky and with the mist. Don't go into the mist, type of deal. It's pretty neat. But this film was actually funded. I guess it was West Germany, Spain, England, and then there was another country that was involved with this production.
France?
Belgium or France? Yeah, I don't know.
I think it was France. France.
Did we say France?
Yeah,
it was shot mostly in Spain, not entirely.
Oh, in Italy. Italy was the other country.
In Italy, it was shot, some of the interiors there. Jess Franco is a Spanish director. In fact, it's interesting because to me anyway, because he's such a kind of a hack director, and somebody's going to get mad that I said that. But he came from a prominent family. I think they were from Mexico and Cuba, but not all of his, but there were prominent people in the arts in the family. Not names that we would probably recognize, most of us, but his brother was the head of the Albéniz Institute, which is a classical music, institute in Spain. His brother-in-law was a philosopher.
Wow.
I'm not a philosophy guy, so I don't know. Julian Marias was his name. And his nephew was also a film director. But he probably took after Jess. So and Jess himself was a musician. He attended a conservatory and he got interested in jazz, and then he got into film. It was actually a Hammer film that he saw, Brides of Dracula, that made him want to go and become a director. So
it had it had a lot of influence on him.
Yeah. So ironically, Christopher Lee wasn't in that Dracula movie. Even though it was a sequel to Hammer's Dracula.
I also read that he did a couple of films that were almost like James Bond spy movies or something along the lines of that too, I guess.
You name it. Yeah, that's like one of the more reputable genres, but name it like an exploitation genre, and Jess Franco made at least 10 films in that genre. I mean, yeah, he did do spy films, he did crime films, but those were the more reputable films. I mean, the guy did, zombie movies. He actually had a zombie movie yanked away from him.
Did he really?
Yeah, and I saw it too. It was called Zombie Lake. But yeah, he did women's prison films, lesbian vampire movies.
Yeah, vampire, that's those.
Yeah. All these borderline softcore porn movies. He did all this, nunsploitation, exorcism, cannibal films.
He did the whole gamut. I read that one of them. What was it? The bare-breasted countess, a virgin among the living dead.
and he would make like 6 of these a year at least. He just like churned these things out, and they would all have the same stars.
he had his repertoire.
yeah, he had his little repertory company. Yeah, right. So it's crazy.
And he was known for, I guess, handheld cameras when he was doing his filming and different types of shots.
Well, you saw in this movie that anytime it was night, you could see the cloud. When they had the clouds and the sun, it was day for night. They just shot it during the day and made it a night scene.
Michelle Diato is out there. Hey, Michelle, and she's saying, "Okay, what did I just log into?" Believe it or not, Michelle, we're talking about Bram Stoker's Dracula, and we're talking about the director, Jesus Franco.
Yeah, Jess Franco.
Franco, yeah.
Whose name was actually Jesus.
Jesus.
Yeah, Life Force.
You mean the movie starring Patrick Stewart?
Yeah,
Oh,
all
no.
his movies were like Life Force without the budget.
Michelle says I'm working on schoolwork, lots of laughs. And Vince said nunsploitation.
Nunsploitation. There is a genre. There is a genre of yeah.
I never even heard of such a thing.
Nunsploitation. Yeah, it was.
Please expand on that. Go ahead, Ross. Go bury yourself, Ross.
Nunsploitation goes back to the 18th century.
Oh,
all those Gothic novels always had nuns doing all these awful things behind closed doors
with the rulers.
But when Jess Franco gets a hold of it, it's a whole other thing.
Dennis Chevalier is joining us from Canada. Welcome, Dennis, as you've entered the twilight zone of our conversation.
Hi, Dennis. Well, the woman that played Lucy in this movie, she did a lot of movies for Franco, and one of them was the Vampire Lesbos.
Yeah, Vampiros Lesbos. Yeah.
Yeah.
I found the soundtrack for that over at Princeton Record Exchange.
Oh shoot!
Yeah, she did several movies for him.
Yeah, it's got a very interesting jacket.
I'm sure it did, or it does.
I know. I regret to say I didn't buy it. I texted a friend of mine to see if he wanted it. He said no. So
Randy's saying, "Hey, Randy." Randy's joining us from Wisconsin. He's saying, "Dang, sorry I was late."
You missed all the nunsploitation.
That's all right. We were late too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Andy Warhol's Dracula. I regret to say.
Andy Warhol.
Otto, you sick pig. That's all. That's the only line I could say from that movie.
Oh shoot.
Yeah.
Did you see the Hammer films, Roy? All of them, or?
I've seen most of them. The Dracula. They used to run those on Channel 5 out of New York, WNEW TV, and they usually were like on a Sunday. Go figure. Dracula. And they would be on in the afternoon, and I remember, be over at my grandparents, visiting my mom's parents, and a lot of times that would be on in the middle of the afternoon.
And what years did they run from?
They were in the, I believe they may even started as the late 50s, and then went into definitely through the 60s, and I think even through the early, close to the mid 70s. Am I right on that, Ross?
Yeah. Early 70s, I'd say.
Yeah.
I think the first one, I didn't look up the dates, but I think the first one was 59 or something like that.
Yeah.
We'll just say late 50s through the 60s into the early 70s.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So Dracula aged as he did the movies.
I guess so.
Yeah.
just like Spock.
Well, they said that where I read that this one, Dracula started young, or no, he started older.
Yes.
Right.
And then as he drank the blood of other people, he got younger. And was this the first movie that happened with the Dracula, or?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they've done it in other movies.
I think for the early films, I think this was one of the earlier films. I don't believe they did that in the Hammer films. And I think this was the first time they did that with Christopher Lee anyway. I think maybe with the other films that came out, later productions, they probably did do that. But I think this was the first time, as far as Christopher Lee playing the character, where he kind of regressed, to become younger. Right. As a result of drinking the blood.
Yeah, there were a lot of there were a lot of things that were faithful to Stoker's novel, which I've read a couple of times because it's a great book. It's one of these classics that doesn't read like a classic. It's actually suspenseful, and you get drawn into the story. There are a few kind of twee, sentimental Victorian kind of things that are in there. There's like, oh please, like the women being blushing violets and all this stuff sometimes, but for the most part, it's a very contemporary book and an exciting book, I think. But yeah, the Dracula old to young, they did the fact that he had the mustache, which you didn't see a lot back then.
Right.
It's in the book. He has the mustache. Feeding the baby to the brides when he comes with the baby in this bag and throws it to the brides. That's in the book, but you never see that in the movies.
That was the most, I think, the whole movie. That was the grossest part, was the baby. And the woman yelling for her baby was like,
wanting her baby back. Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
Brennan said one of the hammers was Dracula 1972 AD, and there was one more after that.
There you go.
Hey, Brian, thanks for joining us. And he said Bram Stoker's Dracula 1992 is best. Now, that was with Gary Oldman playing Dracula, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I have issues with that movie, but you're allowed to like it. but you know what? It was one of the films, again, that was faithful to the book, even though they took a lot of liberties with that movie too. At least it had the chase at the end, which they never do in the. They ran out of money; they couldn't do it in this one, so they said to like burn him in the coffin. But there's this like hair-raising chase where they try to beat him back to Transylvania, because if he gets back to Transylvania, he's going to be impervious. He's going to be immortal, kind of again, But they have him in a situation where he's without. I think he's without his native soil, or yet he's got to get back before a certain point, and they've got to like beat him to get there. And,
believe it or not, I never saw that film, and I've heard. In fact, I was mentioning it. Bram Stoker's for the 1992.
Well, you might like it. It's a beautiful movie to look at, and it's one of those things where the more movies you've seen, the more you'll get out of it, because Coppola does a lot of references to classic movies in the film. The costume design's beautiful. It's just not scary.
I had mentioned it to my mom, and she was saying that she remembered it, and she was trying to remember the actor was in it who played Dracula, and then I was thinking maybe it was more recent, but then I can't believe that's a 32-year-old movie already. Keanu
Reeves is in it. It has the best, in my opinion, it has the best music of any Dracula movie. They got a Polish composer by the name of Wojciech Kilar to do the music, and it was really inspired. Really creepy music.
Creepy.
Yeah.
Hey, Christian, thanks for joining us. Christian's joining us from Canada. He's saying hi to all of us. He said Jess wanted always to do a Hammer film, but Christopher Lee was satisfied with it.
Yeah. Also unusual is the fact that they had Quincy Morris in it. But they didn't really make a lot out of it. At least in the Bram Stoker movie, they make it very clear he's from Texas. In this movie, they just say he's American, or they might say he's from Texas, but he doesn't seem like a Texan really, particularly. But he's not in most of the adaptations. So we get to see Quincy Morris, who was actually probably played by he was American, the guy. Yeah, a lot of these guys were German, and they gave them American names.
Yeah, Sherry, you were telling me about that you came across that.
Yeah, every actor that's in this, like, they all had different names, and some of them were like a mile long, and they cut them way down. All their names were cut down shorter.
Yeah. Well, it's very much in the tradition of the spaghetti westerns, because they shot all those in Spain, and they used international casts. Even had Klaus Kinski in a lot of spaghetti westerns. And then the music was very spaghetti western. That the guy who wrote the music for it did scores for spaghetti westerns, worked with Morricone. We'll talk about him later. But it just didn't have the flair of the spaghetti westerns, like the crazy camera work and the outrageous gunfights and But those were notorious for that. They would always have German actors or Italian actors with American names.
Yeah, it was a very diverse cast that was in this film.
Yeah,
for sure. And Herbert Lom, he was Van Helsing.
Yeah.
Pink Panther fan. There you go.
I kept waiting for his eye to start twitching.
Yeah. And he, I thought he was a good Von Helsing. We talked about him before. Oh, we did. What did we do? Like Pink Panther Strikes Again or Revenge of the Pink Panther?
Yeah.
Whichever one where Dreyfus goes mad and tries to destroy he has the disintegrator ray. Herbert Lom was born in Prague. He's a Czech actor, and he didn't go to England until he was in his early 20s.
Wow.
So that's pretty incredible. I'm not an expert at picking out accents in a foreign. They speak English in England, but I don't hear the Czech accent, No. So he did a really good job. I guess maybe it was that theatrical training, the diction and the elocution.
I was going to say, I did not see 1 ounce of Dreyfus, Inspector Dreyfus, in him during this movie. To me, he was his own character. I bought that he was Van Helsing, and no, I didn't see it.
I saw it just a little bit when he was starting to when he was like doing that pass out.
Oh, when he had the
When he
stroke?
was having the stroke, I was waiting for his eye to start twitching because he was just like going like this.
That's so wrong.
I didn't even know we didn't know what he was doing when we were watching it, remember?
Yeah.
And then we found out later that he had a stroke.
Yeah.
We were like, what is he doing? But yeah, it was almost, the eye almost started going. And that was just the time where I saw that.
I am cracking up because Ross said to you, that's so wrong. of all people to say that.
So wrong.
It's so wrong.
Well, he made a number of films that went on to become classics before he did the Pink Panther movies. He was in The Lady Killers with Peter Sellers and Alec Guinness. He was in War and Peace. He played Napoleon in War and Peace. And El Cid, he was I don't remember who the Moor was who faced off against Charlton Heston. I don't remember his name. In Mysterious Island, he played Captain Nemo. And he played the Phantom of the Opera in a Hammer movie.
I could see that.
And Michael Gough, who played Alfred in the Batman movies, the Michael Keaton Batman movies, he was the villain in the Phantom of the Opera. He was the guy that set him on his path. Yeah. So.
Well, Franco wanted to get Vincent Price for that role.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. But he couldn't, he was busy. Couldn't get out of the American International Pictures.
He was busy.
We had talked about Vincent Price's involvement in those productions.
Yeah, they probably it would have been too campy with Vincent Price, I think. It was a totally different vibe. I want to know, why the heck was Van Helsing suddenly in a wheelchair? Yet he says, I had a minor stroke, because that is not in the book. Van Helsing never has a stroke. I wonder if Herbert Lom, like you said, Sherry, like he probably fell down a staircase or something, and he said, I'm just going to do the rest of the film in this wheelchair. Say I had a stroke or something, I'm tired.
And they also said that he came in so late that when they did the shots, they never did the shots together. They were always separate.
Yeah, Christopher was already gone. Yeah,
they had to go back and film it.
So, but you know what? And I also, now that I think about it, they filmed Lom's scenes very quickly too. I think they did them in a very short amount of time. It was a day or a couple of days that they did all his scenes. So maybe that was it. It was like a long day. And he said, "Can I do the rest of this sitting down? Can you put me in a wheelchair and say I had a stroke or something?" Because I don't know why they did that.
Randy said, "Come on, that bad pun deserves."
Oh yeah. His accent checks out. Sorry, we were talking, Randy.
And Brian said the Bela Lugosi 1931 Dracula was okay, but I thought it was highly overrated. Yeah, I agree.
It was a little stagey. It was an early, and those early movies, when you get that early, especially the horror movies, they just kind of set the camera up and act it out like a play. There's not a lot of cutting and close-ups, and I think it's great, but I'm a weirdo.
Brennan said Franco couldn't meet his price. Vincent's price.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Probably not.
But the Lugosi version is creaky. Lugosi's great in it. But come on, I mean, for scary animals, they have like a possum walking around.
Oh my god! I think that's when I lost it when we were watching this film. When I saw.
We were really laughing hard on that one. We really needed a good laugh
on the Franco, or the Lugosi.
Franco.
Taxidermist. The taxidermist animals moving around and coming towards the camera. And it was it was not scary. It was funny.
It was amusing. It was more amusing than Randy's comment just now.
Yeah, Randy's on a tear tonight.
Well, if you ask Roy, I tend to laugh at horror movies anyway, but this one really made me laugh a lot. And then when the werewolves were played by German Shepherd number 1 and German Shepherd number 2, the werewolves were German Shepherds. It really made me laugh a lot.
Evidently, that was the first time that had been done And that was the first time that had been done.
The last time.
And they made a big deal about him getting down off the coach and addressing the wolves, and he doesn't do that in the book.
Yeah,
the wolves are running next to the coach, but he never, at no point does he ever get off the coach. In fact, you're not even sure it's him driving the coach, but it's him driving the coach.
Yeah.
When Harker looks out the window, you see the bat running, flying ahead of the horses or whatever the horse or the horse is, I guess. But the differences from the book that I found, it streamlines the events. There were things that they kind of, more than one thing they would put into one scene. There was no climbing the walls like you talked about Frank Langella. We got to see him go down the walls at least in that one. And he does that in the book, but they didn't do that in this. There was no Voyage of the Demeter, the ship where they bring the coffins over and everybody gets killed on the ship. They mysteriously died on the ship. They didn't have any money to film that sequence, so they didn't put it in there. He just shows up. You see the Roma, the gypsies unloading the boxes at the Abbey, but you don't see how he got there. There's no garlic for Lucy in the scene. They drape her whole thing in garlic, and they do that in a lot of the film versions, but they didn't do that. I guess they didn't have the money for garlic. I don't know. There was no suspenseful chase back to Transylvania. Renfield's death. I don't even remember how he died in this movie. Because at one point he falls out the window, and I thought, well, is that how they killed Renfield? And then he shows up in a neck brace for. Does he even die? I don't even know. Who knows? Von Helsing's stroke, which I already mentioned, was not in the book. So there you go. Now you don't have to read it. Spoiler alert.
They really did need the garlic for Lucy, though, because nobody else was protecting her.
No.
That's another thing. They just they leave her alone in the room, and the third night, oh, she's dead. Well, I wonder why.
Oh, another thing that was different from the book was Von Helsing was the head of the institution where Renfield, the mental institution, and there's no way that he was. He was in. I think he's in Holland or in the Netherlands or whatever. And they have to summon him to come and check out these cases of vampirism. He's not in London when Dracula shows up. So, but I guess for concision's sake, just to have him there and have him be the head of the institution with Seward as his. Seward usually runs the place, but he was hardly even in this movie. The doctor.
He had a very small role.
Yeah.
Which was surprising. But yeah, it's almost like Van Helsing's more like behind the scenes and just make sure that things, overall run. As you said, Seward's in charge, but very, very small part. And Klaus Kinski was the actor that played Renfield, and he did a lot of stuff.
And when you get Klaus, this shows the importance of if you cast a movie right, that's 90% of the performance. All you have to, it's who should we get to play Renfield? Klaus Kinski. Klaus Kinski doesn't have to be anything because he's totally insane. It's is that Renfield? But yeah, I thought he was actually pretty underpowered for being Klaus Kinski as Renfield, though. He didn't really get to be too nuts in this movie.
No.
Ate a few
Brian said, have you seen Shadow of the Vampire with William Dafoe?
Yes.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah. He plays Max Schreck. Yeah, it's a play on Nosferatu.
Okay.
So,
yep.
But only the conceit is that not the vampire is real. So it's behind the scenes of the making of the movie. Yeah.
Well,
Klaus Kinski, he was a real character supposedly in real life. He always played crazed characters, they said, and he was infamous for his violent temper.
Mm.
Yep.
He was diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder. He turned down the role of the German villain in Raiders. What was the name of that? Of the villain
Toad?
that was
Toad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He turned that down. Instead, he chose to appear in Venom.
Right.
Because the salary was better. He always went for the better salary, and he was known to say, "I choose films with the shortest schedule and the most money."
Well, that's directed to the point.
Absolutely. There's a documentary. He made all these movies for Werner Herzog, a German director, who did crazy things in his films. He was crazy himself. He's still around.
Wow.
But Kinski is certifiably crazy. I think he's been institutionalized. There's just so many stories about him. But there's a documentary that Werner Herzog made called "My Best Fiend," Fiend, and it's about Klaus Kinski, and he just tells stories about how insane Klaus Kinski was, and how at one point he just locked himself in a bathroom for days, and they couldn't get him out, and he just pulverized every piece of porcelain.
Oh my God.
They opened it up. There was no sink, no toilet, no bathtub. It was just like nothing but powder, and he just wouldn't come out.
Whoa.
Or he filled another room up where he was staying in the same place just with leaves, and he wouldn't leave the room.
Oh my God.
Just lived in the leaves.
He died at a very young age. He was only like 65.
I wonder why.
Yeah, he was a total maniac. And there was he wrote these memoirs, and they were legendary. I worked at a Barnes and Noble once in the 90s, and we all wanted to get a hold of Klaus Kinski's memoirs, but you couldn't do it. And then they reprinted it with an English translation. And I just, I went into, they had it over at the Borders, and I was just like reading it there in the store. I said, I can't buy this. It's just too foul. It's so bad. It's not even funny anymore.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I think it was called "All I Want Is Love." Klaus Kinski, or "All I Need Is Love." Yes, collector's item.
There you go. He died of a heart attack. I wonder why. Ross reviewing a vampire movie, he will never be positive. Oh my God.
Yeah, no matter what I review, I'll never be positive. Yes,
I played in Mandalorian. He was
which I haven't seen any of Mandalorian, but I saw that he was in. He claims he's never seen a Star Wars movie. Herzog. I have his latest book, but I haven't read it. It's sitting on my bedstand. Yeah.
You know what my question is to you guys? So if Dracula bit Jonathan Harker, how comes he didn't turn into a vampire?
Yeah, well, it depends on your vampire lore, but I think you have to die from the sucking of the blood. When he does it repeatedly and you die. But yeah, I wondered that myself because I'm reading a book called Varney the Vampire, which is a penny dreadful. Penny dreadfuls were these 19th century cheaply printed thrillers. Lurid thrillers. Sweeney Todd was one of them. But Varney the Vampire was another famous one. And yeah, he's sucking somebody's blood, and then everybody's saying, well, won't she turn into a vampire? And they explain in great detail in there. It's like, no, he has to suck her blood until she, dies. And then she becomes one of the, if he does it repeatedly and she dies or whatever.
So that's why with the transfusions, being given the transfusion, as long as it wasn't repeated, then Lucy would have escaped supposedly. But what happened was it was a repeated occurrence, and then she died as a result of having her blood pretty much taken out of her, and then she joined the undead, so to speak.
Yeah, she's lucky she didn't die from the transfusion. I always wondered about that. In the book, I think it's Mina who gets drained, and they give blood, and then she gets drained again, and somebody else gives her blood. Maybe it's Lucy, I can't remember, but it happens repeatedly. So all of them take turns giving her blood, and I'm thinking, well, this is going to kill you. But it was before anybody knew about blood types.
Right.
That wasn't known until the 20th century, early 20th century, like turn of the century, I guess, right after Dracula was written, I suppose. But yeah, you shouldn't mess around with putting strange blood in you. It's as bad as getting the blood taken out.
The blood sort of cracked me up too. It was very fake looking.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, it's pretty fake in the Hammer movies too, but somehow it works there.
Hey, I see Joe Brickman is out there. Joe, thanks for joining us. Hope you're doing well. Joe's joining us from California, and he'll be returning to the area very shortly because of the 40th class reunion is coming up.
Nice. Yeah, we'll see you there. You old man. 40 years. What?
40 years. Are you going to be there too, Ross? Oh, that's right. You were Easton.
I did spend one day at your high school, if you'll recall.
You know what? Did you really?
Yeah. Joe brought me in for a day.
I don't even remember that, Ross.
Yeah,
wow.
I wouldn't recommend it. But at least you let me in. You know, I tried to get Joe permission for Joe to come in, and the Easton School District, the Easton High School wouldn't let him in. They were afraid there was going to be an incident because there was such a rivalry between the schools.
The irony of the whole situation is it would have been safer for Joe to visit you than for you to visit Joe.
That's true. You'll have to ask Joe about that sometime.
Joe said hi, and he said he'll be there. Ross, what year was that? Was that, I mean, like senior year, junior year? When
I came over there? I don't know. When we were in high school, I don't remember.
God, I don't remember that.
It might have been, maybe it was 83. I don't know.
That would have been senior year. Okay.
No, 84 was senior. Well, 83, 84 was senior year.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
I don't know if it was 82, 83 or 83, 84. Nobody cares.
there's the line I was looking for.
So we had the fake blood. We had the day for night, right? We had the rubber bat.
Rubber bat,
which was kind of sub monsters, you know. And you had the spiders. Remember the spiders that they would always have on the bedposts? And the fake spiders and the fog machines.
Don't forget about that.
And the crazy sound effects. It reminded me of the CD that we played during Halloween, honey.
Yeah, with the spooky sounds.
Scary sound effects. Low budget sound effects.
Yeah. I didn't know what to make of it because I thought it was being kind of effectively done, but then just kind of seemed to go on forever. You know what I mean? It was not all that compelling, even though there were atmospheric scenes on a shoestring. But like you say, you know, that some of it had to do with the you had the taxidermy where they would turn. I didn't know that the animals were actually supposed to be attacking, though. I thought it was just like a hallucination or something. But yeah, I read somewhere else that they were supposed to be attacking also.
They were supposed to be.
That's how lame it was. I didn't know they were attacking.
Franco had stage hands moving them around, handheld, moving them around towards the camera.
Oh.
Good stuff.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. You know, honestly, it didn't. For a Dracula film, Christopher Lee really didn't have a huge part in this movie, though.
Yeah, you know, in the book, you don't really get that close to Dracula. You have the opening scenes in the castle where he speaks, and you get this. You're kind of the closest to him that you get, and then as the story goes on, he kind of gets further and further away, and you just kind of, as he gets energized and he starts getting up to his mischief. In London, you always just catch him like jumping over a wall or something like that. They glimpse him, and it's or he turns into a wolf or something. So yeah, I mean, he was kind of at arm's length in this movie too. He came in and he'd say a line and he'd
be on his way.
Yeah, and they only had that one scene with Von Helsing and Dracula, and as Sherry said, they filmed it on different the actors on different days.
Yeah. Which I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
You're not getting, well, and that happens a lot of times. I mean, where an actor, something could happen, or, you know, somebody's not available, and you're essentially talking to maybe a stagehand or another actor or whatever the situation is. And as an actor, you still have to give it your all to be in the moment. And it's interesting that, you know, that they did that.
It's interesting to contemplate that a lot of people were speaking in different languages too. They did that again in the spaghetti westerns, where if you knew English, you did your lines in English, and if somebody, you know, was speaking Spanish, they would do the lines in Spanish, and then they would just dub them all into
right.
English.
And with this movie, Christopher Lee and Herbert Lom were the only ones that did their own English, I believe.
I didn't realize until after the movie ended that Jess Franco was Seward's assistant.
Yeah,
or the younger guy. Or younger Franco, anyway. Not younger.
Here comes my taxidermy animal.
Oh no,
Squeaker.
Ooh,
Stop it. Ooh,
Squeaker.
you're making my skin crawl.
ooh.
He's such a good boy. Squeaker.
Yeah. But Soledad Miranda, who played Lucy.
Yeah.
She made 6 films for him in that year. And
She would have made more, but
Yeah.
the car accident died. I think she wasn't even 30 years old when that happened. Very sad.
Yeah.
And naturally, it being Jess Franco, all 6 films were erotic thrillers.
Of course they were.
And I'm sure without very many thrills.
Wonder if he had any shower scenes.
There she is.
Probably very few thrills and very little eroticism. Yeah.
That's her and Quincy Morris.
Yeah, so he was American, Jack Taylor.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he even changed his name. I don't have it written down what his name was, but he even changed his name.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Jack Taylor sounds very generic.
Right.
As
Like
far as
Fred Williams.
Yeah, exactly.
Fred Williams, who was Harker.
Right.
Yeah, there's Harker and there's
So he was German, right?
Mina.
The actor. Mina was Maria Rome.
Yep.
So I'm not sure if she was German background. I can't remember, but she was married to the producer.
Right.
Harry Allen Towers. Supposedly that there was a friction between the producer and Jess, even though they worked together a lot. And Jess always blamed, whenever his films would tank, he would always blame the producer because he wouldn't have the money to finish the movie. So they have to splice together whatever he had.
Maria Rome, she was born in Austria. And she was a child actor. She started acting when she was 4 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Young start.
Yeah.
Have a future in Jess Franco films. Now, his subsequent, I guess Soledad was his muse for that year, but his subsequent muse, the woman he became involved with, and I think he was married all these times too, but he just always had these mistress actresses. but the one that took her place was Lena Roma, or Romai, I guess, Lena Romai, and she was in 109 movies that he made.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
As I said, he made over 170 movies, so 173 movies by some counts.
Wow.
So
that's a lot of movies, Ross.
That's a lot of movies, but he, I mean, he has his followers, his cultists, but a lot of them are pretty trashy. I think all of them are pretty trashy. Probably. I think Dracula's, from what I read, I think Dracula's about as classy as Jess ever got. So it's kind of.
Well, it's funny too. You were talking about the budget, and I guess they wanted to film this movie in Romania too, but they just couldn't afford it, and that's why they had to go to Italy. So, but budgetary constraints really plagued this film, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, that's where Transylvania is Romania.
Yeah,
right?
So that would have been appropriate.
Yeah, and I think we can make fun of it, but I think it's not a bad. It's not horrible.
No, it's not.
It's just not great.
Yeah. Brennan said Towers, Franco, and Lee all acted together on a previous film, The Castle of Fu Manchu, a favorite on Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Yeah. Yes, for as much as I enjoy Christopher Lee and the Hammer movies, his Fu Manchu movies are pretty bad. All of them, I should say, are pretty bad. But yeah, I guess they're watchable barely. But I don't know. Boris Karloff did a Fu Manchu movie that's fabulous, but of course, it's not politically correct to dress Karloff up as a yellow menace.
Oh, right. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to say hi to Isabel. Isabel is joining us from the UK. Welcome, Isabel. I see you're out there. Thanks.
I didn't know Christopher Lee was a singer.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. He wanted to be an opera singer. Yeah.
Yeah.
He wanted to be an opera singer, and he went to, he filmed everywhere, and he was filming in Sweden, and he was in a tavern there. And he was just singing, drinking and singing in the tavern. And who was in the tavern but UC Björling, who is a famous Swedish opera singer. And he said, oh, this guy's a voice. He said, come sing for me. And so he went to the Royal Academy or whatever the next morning to audition, and they were going to let Lee in. And Lee said that he couldn't do it, that he didn't have the money to do it, and he had to do all this other stuff. So, Bierling was going to try to make it happen, but Lee decided to stick with the films. And ultimately, he was glad he did, he said, because his voice would only last so long as a professional singer. Whereas as an actor, he was able to go on for decades, so he was satisfied with his choice. But it was always one of those road not taken things. What would have happened had I pursued my dream? But he did slum and anonymously would join like community opera groups and go and tour around and sing different opera roles. And nobody knew it was Christopher Lee.
That's pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah, I did not know that he was
younger. Yeah.
Brennan says, I saw a couple of Franco's other movies, Roy. I was worried. Hey, John Zuccaro's out there. John, welcome. Thanks for joining us, John.
There are YouTube videos of Lee singing opera, if you look for it, and other things. He sang heavy metal when he was old,
I read that too.
Mike made a couple heavy metal albums.
He's done a lot. I know him from James Bond too, right?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Scaramanga. Yeah, 1974, The Man with the Golden Gun.
The Man with Three Nipples.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Vince is saying, I just watched a pretty bad movie called The Return of Captain Invincible with Alan Arkin and Christopher Lee as the singing supervillain.
Yeah. In fact, he has the only good scene, Christopher, or the only scene worth watching is, you'll find it excerpted again on YouTube, is the one where he's singing with the bottles and trying to get Alan Arkin to drink because he's a reformed alcoholic.
Oh, jeez.
Randy, nice. Another Lee metalhead. Sweet.
Yeah, Return of Captain Invincible is a little weak, pretty weak.
Vince said Lee sang a song about alcohol. It was very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, because it was like kind of a, they wanted to, you could see they were trying to go for like a Rocky Horror vibe, and it just didn't get there. In fact, I wonder if the guy who's the guy who played Riff? Somebody's going to know it out there. The guy who wrote Rocky Horror, he may have written the songs for Captain Invincible. I don't remember. I might be telling tales out of school, but it's possible. I mean, they really went for that kind of vibe with the Christopher Lee songs because they had the women dressed up in Rocky Horror and
right.
All that sort of thing. But they might have just been ripping it off, and the guy had nothing to do with it. O'Brien, what's his name? Something O'Brien was the guy who played Riff. Richard O'Brien.
Oh, okay.
Was the Rocky Horror guy.
Yep, Richard O'Brien.
How'd I pull that out of my head?
Michelle's got your back. Thanks, Michelle.
There you go. A name I've not thought about in 40 years.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say a long time.
A long
40 years, that's nothing, Ross.
We'll talk about it at your reunion, Roy.
Yeah, exactly. Randy said Stoker never stepped foot in Transylvania.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
just made a mint on Scapegoat in Transylvania. It's full of vampires.
It would be interesting to watch the Gary Oldman movie, though.
Watch it.
Yeah.
We can even talk about it. I'll try not to be too negative about it. I waited a long time because I didn't like it so much. I thought, okay, maybe I give it a hard, giving it a bad rap. But then I went back and watched it. It's still not good. But you'll like it.
Hey, what are you saying, Ross?
Anybody else? Any of you guys will like it, but it's terrible. No, I'm hard on it. It's a good movie. Yeah.
That's what you call an indirect insult right there.
I'm conflicted. I can't lie. I can't lie and say it's a great movie, but some people like it. So
yeah. Why is there a reason why you don't like it?
We should do a show and I'll tell you.
All right, we'll come. The three of us will come back.
That'll be our Christmas show.
That'll be our Christmas show. Yeah, this was our Thanksgiving show, so we will discuss Bram Stoker's Dracula with Gary Oldman from 1992 is our Christmas show. and I am in agreement. We will do it. Just
all right.
For the entertainment value.
And if we're inspired, we'll move right on to Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, and then we'll bring on whatchamacallit, the two for that.
Paul.
Sorry, Paul. The brain cells were fried.
And then we'll round out the year with AI.
Yeah, and we'll have Matt on for AI.
we can count down all my least favorite movies. Yeah.
Matt will be Zeus in his AI outfit.
We could do. Yeah.
Your New Year's show.
See, that's the thing, though. I'm more negative than you are. It would be name your poison. There, it is Richard O'Brien. Okay. I could see an amusing show just like us talking about our most hated movies and counting down, but that's just too negative for you.
That's a real positive way to bring in the new year, Ross.
Like if we pick 10 movies we hated and just like trash the movies.
That would be fun.
2024 goes out with a bang.
But you can't just say the movie was terrible. You have to say why you hated it, though. You have to go really into it.
You have to have something to substantiate your facts.
Substantiate it, yeah. And you'll just see me getting angrier and angrier as I speak.
Don't make me angry, Ross.
Yeah.
Reddit said also the lair of the white worm. The other Bram Stoker
I also movie. What? Liked it or hated it? He liked it. I also the lair, or also saw it.
Maybe, I don't know. We'll have to ask him.
That's a fun movie, actually.
Santa Claus conquers the vampire.
Yeah. I think I read Lair of the White Worm to the book, and I thought it was a terrible book. And then, like, the more I thought about it, I was wondering, is it really terrible? Or did I just not? Is it just hallucinatory? Did I not get it when I was reading it?
Oh, now Vince is going for the jugular here. A double feature: the film versions of Lost in Space and Wild Wild West. Don't even get me started about Wild Wild West.
Oh no, yeah.
And then we have to watch them. Yeah.
Lost in Space, the film, the movie. Oh,
yeah.
But truth be told, I dislike Wild Wild West more than Lost in Space.
And that's saying something.
And that is saying something.
I've never seen the Wild Wild West movie, actually. I saw the Lost in Space movie. It was not good. Yeah.
No.
How about District 9, honey?
I haven't seen that one either.
Oh, we left that one. We walked out.
That was a walkout film.
It was so bad.
Ross has turned the show to the dark side, folks.
I know. I came this close to walking out of AI, but I said to myself, if you walk out of AI, you're gonna have to. Yeah, I was afraid I had to watch the movie again, and I didn't want to do that. I had to just stick it out
once and done.
Yeah, because I would have missed the whole last half hour, so I had to suck it up and go through the last half hour.
Speaking of suck it up, Randy saying Ross is negative. It's so negative, even Dracula wouldn't.
Yeah, there you go.
Holy Sith Ross. It's come out. Ross is the Sith Lord.
Yeah. There you go.
Boy, what a way to bring in the holidays, Ross.
There's two, Roy. There's two.
There's always two.
Yeah. And here we are.
Yeah, here we are.
So back to the movie.
Yeah, Sherry didn't get your comment, by the way, Ross, but go ahead.
when they're doing the hammering in the coffin, it's like the Dracula movies I see, they go one time, and this is like I was like, what are they doing? And then what was with the cutting the head off? That was yeah, they didn't do that a lot in the older movies, but that's one of the things you have to do. Yeah, you have to drive the stake through and then lop the head off, and then maybe burn the corpse. Yeah, I never saw the head having to be off in a Dracula movie.
Oh, you got stuff with garlic in the mouth too. You want to make sure,
You want to cover all the bases, Ross. You want to cover all the bases.
I'm not making this up.
I didn't say you were.
I can see we're going to be making like a real life Fright Night. You're going to call, hey Ross, I think we got some vampires. You got to come over and tell us what to do.
How should we kill them? Don't know the correct way to kill a vampire.
What you do is you throw a handful of poppy seeds, because vampires have to count all the poppy seeds before they can do anything else.
Oh,
they're very obsessive compulsive, apparently. So if you throw something, like poppy seeds, they have to sit there and count every one of them before they can pursue you further. I forget what legend, where that legend came from, but there's a movie called, I just watched it this year. It was Therapy for a Vampire. It's a German movie, and it's a comedy, and they play a lot on that, where they were throwing things so the vampire would have to stop and count obsessively compulsively, count everything that fell on the floor. But I never got the Disney, or not Disney, Sesame Street's The Count. He's always counting, 1, 2, and I'm wondering if somebody whoever came up with that understood that they knew that legend that the vampires like to count.
No, never heard of that either.
Yeah.
I think they should have given Lucy a lot of poppy seeds then.
I know, it's nothing you ever heard of. It's in none of the movies, but.
I'm going to go with Vince on that one. Too cool, Brewster. From Fright Night.
Yeah.
But so, how would you rate this movie? How did you rate it, Ross? I'll start with Ross.
I don't think it's a bad movie. I probably would rate it higher than you.
Well, that's true, Ross. You do like Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
I think it was better than Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, but not as much fun.
Okay.
It's not like that. It's so bad. It's good kind of movie.
Yeah. No, no, I agree.
Like Santa Claus Conquers the Martians is so bad that it's entertaining. So I don't know. I know you're just joking. A 1 star, he says. Oh my goodness. No coaching.
No coaching. What about you, hon?
What are we doing? 1 to 10, or what are we doing?
No, you don't even have to give a number, but I mean, did you like it a lot, or was it all right, or?
It was entertaining. It made me laugh, which I really needed after the past few weeks that I've had, but it was fun to watch it with you and laugh. How about you?
I'd probably give it on a 1 to 10 scale. Somewhere between a 6 and a 7. It wasn't.
Yeah. That's very fair.
It wasn't god awful, but it wasn't a great film, and it was above par, but not by much. You know what I mean? In my opinion.
So
I know the critics. A lot of the critics panned it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes the most damning thing is if you make a middling movie, a movie that's not, because it's not interesting then. If it's not a great movie and it's not a terrible movie, a spectacular failure, when you're in the middle, it's just kind of like, One thing we didn't talk about is the vampire's metaphor, which, and Dracula's been interpreted a lot of different ways. There is no one correct interpretation, but there's always there's a metaphor for disease and contagion, because he comes in and pollutes
contaminates the blood.
There's the sexuality, the desire, and there's all kinds of transgression. There's body horror and revulsion, and there's faith versus human evil and all this stuff. But I'm watching it this time, and I don't want to get too much into this, but it just jumped out at me like 3/4 of the way through. Von Helsing says, "What good are laws against someone who can set himself above the law?" And I thought, what the? I think this is it's suddenly like Dracula takes on this other relevance, and there's a whole thing with the xenophobia, because this is real. This is not something I'm making up. This is really something from 1890s in London. It's a very real thing. There was kind of this anxiety in the literature at the time about xenophobia, like an immigrant invasion because you had the British Empire, but there was that anxiety that it was on the way out, and you feel this in Kipling and And in the 1890s, War of the Worlds, with the Martian invasion, it takes over because England was the world empire. But there's this, like Dracula comes in and he's a foreign influence. There's a contagion. The vampirism spreads. You have the rats that spread the stuff, and people are dying, and nobody knows what's causing it, and this and that and the other thing. So it's just interesting that it's kind of that these issues that were a topic in the 1890s are a topic again over 100 years later. I mean, it's not the first time it's been done since 1890, but just that kind of anxiety about something despoiling your blood, or the pure blood of your country or whatever. But yeah, like an immigrant anxiety.
Yeah,
that was evident in H.G. Wells and in Dracula, and also Dracula moves.
It was almost like the influence for the writing, for the literature.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and there's a lot of books like that, and Dracula moves into Carfax Abbey, which is a sacred spot, and of course he's evil and kind of desecrates it by his presence there, and all the evil he. There's all kinds of stuff in Dracula you can go into.
Oh yeah,
I'm just
like
not
reading between the lines, so to speak.
I'm not. Yeah, and a lot of it's not even reading that far between the lines. So
yeah,
I think it was just in the air. Everybody felt that there was a world power kind of teetering on the brink, and we're there now. So I think that there's a lot of anxiety, and who knows if anybody's writing any good books about it though, that are going to live on in another 100 years or 130 years. That people are still going to be talking about.
Yeah, it'll be on a computer program, Ross. It won't be in a book.
I know.
That's the difference.
We'll have that big
the library.
Well, the sun storm or whatever that's going to wipe out all of our files. What do you call it?
Oh, the solar flare.
The solar flare. It'll just wipe out all of our culture. What's left of it.
Shouldn't have been digitalized. Yeah, so that's let me throw up. We talked about Jess Franco, cigarette in hand. There you go. What about the music? What about? Oh, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I'm sorry. Franco was also a musician, wasn't he, Ross?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was. He was a jazz guy, but yeah, he had gone to the conservatory there. He went to Madrid Royal Conservatory, and he did score some of his own movies, I think. But then he got, he's more into the directing. But he wrote screenplays. He wrote pulp novels. I love guys like this because he just made it happen. You know what I mean? He's a hack, but the guy was driven. He was driven, and he got stuff done.
Yeah,
and,
he didn't give up.
And he had like some kind of. I don't think he had no talent. He had some kind of weird talent. The people with taste just don't understand.
Well, you referenced my goodness, I can't think of his name. Oh God,
Ed Wood.
Thank you. You meant almost like he was the equivalent. He was the European Ed Wood, so to speak.
Yeah, he got compared to Ed Wood. Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, and that Zombie Lake I told you about, he started that, and then it got taken out of his hands. And who took it? Oh, Jean Roland, who was the other big hack in Europe at the time, a French director who did a bunch of lesbian vampire movies. Took it over.
Oh man!
Took it over and finished it. And I watched it on TV in the 1980s.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, a bunch of Nazi zombies come out of the lake. Yeah.
On to the music, Ross. What can you tell us about Bruno Nicolai?
Bruno Nicolai, yeah. And now the score was interesting. It had that instrument, the cimbalum, that weird Hungarian instrument. I don't know if you noticed it or not. That they kept vampire lovers. Yeah, that's Hammer. Yeah, I saw that one. I'm on a roll.
Really
everybody thinks as soon as I said lesbian vampire, everybody goes, yeah. Ross.
You got everybody's attention, Ross.
Yeah.
You woke up the dead, Ross.
Oh,
we could be talking about Interview with a Vampire with Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt, and nobody would blink an eye. But you say lesbian vampire, they go, ooh,
Ooh.
what are you talking about? You got something. But it's a genre. It's a genre.
It is a genre.
Or a subgenre, if you're doing it right. But anyway, so,
Have you ever seen one?
oh, yeah, who you talking to here?
Oh, we're hitting a whole new low here tonight.
Have you, honey?
Have I ever seen a lesbian vampire?
Yeah. Movie.
I think that those were supposed to be lesbian vampires when we did when I did Dracula back in 2006, wasn't it? When they were coming at me.
Well, maybe, I don't know.
There's a book called, well, it's a novella called Camilla by Sheridan Le Fanu. It's a Victorian story that was very influential. It was like the influential story before Dracula that was about vampires. And yes, it's very murky. You don't know what's going on, but it's women on women kind of thing. So it kind of has that reputation, but Hammer made it into a movie that Brennan mentioned called The Vampire Lovers. And there were 3 of these that Hammer did. They call it the Karstein trilogy, but they're not real faithful to the book, but they have lesbians in them. and they're vampires.
Lesbian vampires, there you go.
And there's nothing wrong with that. So anyway, Bruno Nicolai, the composer, he was mostly active from the 60s to the 80s. Like I said, he did a lot of spaghetti westerns. He was actually a colleague of Ennio Morricone, and he conducted on the famous Dollars trilogy that Ennio Morricone did, Fistful of Dollars for a Few Dollars More and Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. He conducted the last 2 scores in the film, or for the film. They both went to conservatory together, so they were friends. 8 out of 10 fangs. There you go. Let's see. Oh, the same year that he did this, he did do a film called Adios Zapata, which was the second of the Sabata trilogy. The first and last starred Lee Van Cleef as Sabata. Lee Van Cleef, who was born in Somerville, New Jersey, right up the road here. Yep. The second one had Yul Brynner. He scored the one with Yul Brynner the same year that he did this particular movie. He did other spaghetti westerns that even that same year, Sartana, which had Klaus Kinski in it as the villain. For Tinto Brass, he did Caligula. You remember Caligula? Wow. Yeah. So he scored that. Quentin Tarantino quotes him sometimes in his films. He's always taking music from different, exploitation movies and spaghetti westerns and stuff for his movies. So he used some of his music in Kill Bill 2 and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Sure.
He did music for Jess Franco, for spaghetti westerns, for Italian giallo films. But anyway, the slasher movies. So he scored 10 films the year that he did this.
Wow.
That's how prolific it was. But I wanted to say that the instrument, the cimbalum, or I keep calling it the cimbalum because I keep thinking in Italian. In Hungarian, it's more like cymbalum, and in English we say cymbalum. So it's like a hammered dulcimer, and they use sticks with cottonwood tips, or cotton wound tips. I'm sorry, and they play it on the strings, and they use it through this whole film score. So I thought that was kind of a neat touch because it's a Hungarian instrument. It's all Eastern European, so that was a nice touch.
Nice, yeah. It's following a theme, so to speak.
And I do have his score for Adios Zapata on CD. So,
very
is
cool.
he still alive? Or?
No, he's gone. Yeah, I don't know when he died, but he's dead. Yeah. So we all have to go. Oh, it's kind of it's an instrument that's associated with often, Hungarian folk and Romanian folk traditions, like the gypsies the Romani people are always playing the cimbalum. So, or cymbalum. I got to say it right. Cymbalum. Cymbalum. I'm thinking Italian. It's Hungarian. So, all right, and look it up.
Look it up.
If you go on YouTube, you'll be able to hear people playing the cymbalum.
Now you got me wondering, because I know I'm trying to think of when I heard it, and
it was through the whole movie. Yeah. So,
well, cool.
Once you know it, you know it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly.
And then you hear it. Oh, yeah.
You hear it all the time. Then,
at least in this movie, they used it in. You're not going to remember this. It was on the soundtrack for the Robert Downey Sherlock Holmes. It was one of the instruments they used.
Okay.
In that movie, I don't know. They use it in a bunch of movies. I don't know. But usually they use it when they're gypsies or whatever involved, or Romani people, if you want to get correct about it.
Gotcha. He also passed away at a very young age too, Ross. He was only 65 years old, and he passed in 1991. So he's been gone for quite some time as well.
Yeah, but like in the tradition of all the Italian composers, he churned out like 10 scores a year or something. They're very, very prolific. So,
yeah, it's very impressive.
Yeah.
But well, thank you. That was good. Oh, a couple comments came in. Jeff Rubel said, "I just looked up Zombie Lake." Yeah, okay.
I'm glad he used the TM. Yeah.
And Brennan said there was no lesbian vampires in Caligula, but there are plenty of other stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff in Caligula, but none of it is titillating. It's just kind of like, I don't know. But Malcolm McDowell's in it, and
there you go. Yeah.
Helen Mirren and Peter O'Toole. Yeah, it's
class.
unbelievable the cast they got for that.
One of the things I want to share is we like to give a shout out to Mr. Walter Cronkite from back in the day. That's the way it was. So anyway, the release date of this film. Now, there were different release dates for this movie, but the first release date being April 3rd in 1970, and this was when it was released in Germany, because it was released at different times in the different countries. Films that were popular during that time period were Colossus, the Forbidden Project, Cursed of Crimson Altar, and then also Flesh Feast.
All of them by Jess Franco.
I thought that would be appropriate.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is in regards to number one songs in April of 1970, number one song was in the US was Let It Be by the Beatles. And in the UK, it was Spirit in the Sky on Norman Greenbaum. So there you go with that. Let me see here. Randy's saying lesbian vampire is proving that love bites in more ways than one. Michelle's saying Uncle Walter.
I think next week we should do a nunsploitation movie.
Yeah, I'm sure Vince will be joining us because he wanted more details about that. He'll want to know what movies we're going to be talking about for that, Ross. He probably got his attention.
Honey, was there any all roads lead to Star Trek?
Not that I was aware of. No.
None. Oh wow.
Not that I picked up on. I may have missed something, but
wow. Not anybody would own up to, I guess. Christopher Lee was in Space 1999, so there.
Yeah, well, there you go. All roads lead to Space 1999 with Christopher Lee. There you go. That's absolutely. He's in Earthbound, episode 5. Yeah, there you go. Vince just woke up.
What did Brennan say? I missed the movie that he mentioned. Vincent Price and Christopher Lee and Barbara Steele, Boris Karloff, Christopher Lee. Yeah, I never saw that. Okay,
but
Barbara Steele.
Yeah, see Christopher Lee in Space 1999.
There you go.
Captain Xantor.
Yep.
Captain Dracula.
So I'm going to start to wind down, folks. If you have any last minute comments you'd like to place, kind of like how Vince just did, we'll circle back, and then going to do the shout outs very quickly.
I love it because you can just talk about whatever you want for, about the xenophobia and the War of the Worlds, and this is what. And you say everybody's like you hear crickets and then non-exploitation.
Oh shoot! Yeah, look, yeah, horror. Oh my god!
Google it, Vinny. You'll find it.
Google it.
It's a thing. It's a thing.
With that said, I want to give a shout out to Country Gate Playhouse. Country Gate Players in Belvedere, New Jersey. If you are in the New Jersey area, just check out their website. And this is our friend Bill Scorato, who owns Country Gate Theater. You can check out two ways. You can go to Countrygate, which is www.countrygate.org, or you can go to Bill's website, which is www.billscorato.com. Speaking of Dracula, Countrygate just did Bram Stoker's Dracula, and it was amazing. It was an excellent production. And the last time that had been done was back in 2006 when I had the opportunity to play Jonathan Harker. So,
yes, and I saw you in that, and we weren't even dating yet.
Yeah, exactly. So that was pretty cool.
And I didn't get to see this one because I was in the hospital when it was going on, so I missed it. I was bummed.
I know, but kudos to Bill and the crew and everybody that was involved with that production, because it was an amazing production and did a great job. Want to give a shout out to our friends at Sci-Fi Distilled, Mike and Mary Beth. They will be on this Wednesday night, November 25th, and their discussion is going to be Star Trek Generations, the 1994 film that launched the movie series with the Star Trek The Next Generation cast. This is going to be a crossover episode because I'm going to be joining them, but unfortunately Ross will not be joining with Mike and Mary Beth, so I will be running solo with that. And we will be talking about the movie. Looking forward to this discussion. As I said to both Mike and Mary Beth, I have a lot to say about this film. There's a lot of good things, and then there's other things that I like to discuss. But this movie is getting a lot of attention right now because if you are a Star Trek fan and you have, if you've been on the internet, what happened was with the release, the 30th anniversary celebration of this film, which again was just happening. It's hard to believe it's 30 years already, but it was on last Wednesday, the 18th. A special, I'll say, mini film, which was done through the Roddenberry Vault, or excuse me, not the Roddenberry Vault, the Roddenberry Archives. It really gives a nice closure to Kirk and Spock, and it was done very, very well. And there's no dialogue with it. If you haven't had the opportunity to check it out, definitely check it out. It's all over the net. You can see it on YouTube. And yeah, that's all I'll say about that. But in fact, Mike and Mary Beth talked about that last week. So we will be discussing the movie and looking forward to that discussion. Shout out to Captain Phil's Planet, WUSB 90.1 FM, Stony Brook, New York. The captain's schedule is on Friday nights from 9 to 11:30 p.m. I think he may have also changed his schedule up a little bit, but definitely just go to the website, Captain Phil's Planet, for information. Yes, Michelle, it's a vignette. Thank you. The word was escaping me in regards to unification. That sums it up perfectly. And speaking of William Shatner was just at the Star Trek Original Series set tour. He usually visits twice a year, usually sometimes in June, sometimes in July, and then also in November. And sadly was not able to be there for that, but the captain is coming back, and he will be there next year. The dates are June 27th, 28th, and 29th. Definitely check it out. You can go to www.startrektour.com. If you've never been to the Star Trek Original Series set tour, you definitely want to see it. It is amazing, and I can't even say enough about it. So definitely check that out. And again, that's everything that James Cawley has put into that, and it's just a wonderful experience. It's been wonderful being a part of that as far as volunteering. In fact, Michelle, that's up there, is out there tonight. Michelle will attest to that as well. And I want to give a shout out to my friend Jeffrey Morris in regards to the Eagle Obsession project. For updates on the Eagle Obsession, you can visit the website. It's www.eagledocumentary.com, and definitely check it out. The movie is in production, and you can see all the details in regards to where everything is at. Just go to the website. And again, that's the Eagle Obsession. Also want to give a shout out to Martha from Studio One Thrift. Martha has launched a physical store location in Pennsylvania. It's been over a year. So you can actually get quality, stylish, affordable clothing for men and women. Also receive styling tips and informational updates. And you can go to her website, which is www.studio1thrift.com. Be sure to subscribe to receive those updates. And again, there is a physical store location. The hours are posted on the website, so definitely check that out. Also want to give a shout out to Space 1999 podcast. This is something that I am doing with Warren Friedrich. And we just completed our 6th episode, which is Another Time, Another Place. The 5th episode was just downloaded today, which incidentally was Earthbound, which has a special guest star being Christopher Lee in the episode. So it's appropriate that we were talking about Christopher Lee tonight with this movie with Bram Stoker's Count Dracula. And yes, so you can just check that out on the YouTube page, or also you can go to the 50th anniversary Facebook page for Space 1999. So definitely check that out. Also want to give a shout out to my son Ryan for Run by Ryan, Empower Your Run. He does online coaching, and for information, you can subscribe for free. But also, if you want to reach out to Ryan for that, it's www.runbyryan.com. Also want to say Ryan did an amazing job. He just ran in the New York City Marathon. There was over 55,000 runners in that, and he came in 527th. And his time was pretty amazing. So so proud of him in regards to that. So definitely check out his website for information. And want to also give a shout out for Saint Nick of Bethlehem. Involved in this film just for a couple of days for filming. It was shot locally. Dan Roebuck helped to write it and directed it. It's an amazing production, and it really brings the spirit of Christmas in. Shari and I actually got to catch it last night, and haven't had a lot of time to do a lot of stuff, but it was just so inspirational and just really, really just a very touching film. Dan is really trying to do a lot of productions within the Lehigh Valley, and he's trying to do really quality productions, films that are really, family orientated. And everybody that was a part of this production was amazing, and it was just very welcoming and just very it was really cool. So if I can't say enough about it, if you go to my Facebook page and you are in the local area, definitely check it out. It is being released at local theaters. It is up at the Roxy right now in Northampton, and it's also being released at other area theaters locally. And the goal is to try to fill the theaters, because if the theaters get filled locally, this will actually open up in different theaters across the country. So it's definitely worth seeing again. And it's a very moving, based on a true story too. So, and that is Saint Nick of Bethlehem. And Ross, I updated your photo. Hopefully you like this one better than the other one. And if you tell us about your stuff going on.
Wait a minute. Yeah, you're like this. Wait. Hang on. Wait a minute.
High profile Ross.
He's the same sweater on.
Something like that.
Something.
There you go.
Well done. Okay, these are the 3 shows. These are the 3 shows I do. Picture Perfect's the movie music show. Sweetness and Light's the light music show, and The Lost Chord is the unusual and neglected music show, classical music. They air on KWAX, originate from KWAX, but you can stream them anywhere at the web address that's on there. I don't know what I'm doing this week. It's too early in the week. Picture Perfect, though, I'll probably do family-oriented movies, because it's after Thanksgiving, but before Christmas. And after that, I'll get into the Christmas stuff, but I'll just do some kind of family thing probably. And Sweetness and Light will probably be Thanksgiving leftovers, some American music, and Lost Chord, who knows. But anyway, those are the shows. You can follow me at my Facebook page at Classic Ross Amico. I post about them there, and you'll have an idea of what I'm doing on the weekend. That's all I got, Roy. Thank you.
Thanks,
but thanks
Ross.
for changing the photo. Yeah.
Yeah, Ross was like sending me memos. Roy, when are you changing the photo?
I didn't do that. I only told you on the show a couple of times.
I got to go back on a couple of comments here. So Vince posted, I was Van Helsing. Yes, Vince was Van Helsing when I was Jonathan Harker back in 2006 when we did Dracula at Country Gate, and he was a very good Van Helsing too. He did an awesome job. He was very.
Did he come back this year, or is it somebody else?
It was somebody else this year. Yeah. Actually, it was. My God, forget it. I'm not even going to try to go there because of the names. I'm just like showing my age with my forgetfulness with names. Stacy was Van Helsing, and she did a great job as well too. Yeah. So anyway, as I said, I'm going to be on with Mike and Mary Beth Wednesday night, and that is going to be at 7:00 with them. And as I'm doing this behind the scenes, because I just messed this up and I just realized that I messed this up. There we go. Through the magic of correction. Well, correction that didn't really work.
What's the time there? What is that?
What? How? There we go. Take 3. Anyway, so I will be on with Mike and Mary Beth at 7 p.m. to talk about Star Trek Generations this Wednesday. After their show, I'm going to give it a half-hour break at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is November 25th. Please join me for episode 244, and that is, actually, you know what? I messed that up too. Thanks, Jeff. Jeff's got my back. I am like really. It's been a long day. It's been a long week. And it's been a long month, and it's been a long year. Take 4 on that. Thank you, Jeff Rubel. Yes. So try it again. This Wednesday, November 27th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, episode 244, I will be discussing Star Trek episode The Cage, which was the first pilot celebrating the 60th anniversary of that episode. Because on November 27th, 1964, was a Friday, that is when The Cage actually started production. So I thought it would be appropriate to do a show to honor The Cage and have a discussion about it. So I will be posting some information about that just to let folks know, just as a reminder, because I usually don't post on Wednesdays. So anyway, mark your calendars, and it is the day before Thanksgiving, which of course just adds to all the confusion and everything. So,
which means I won't be there. You're going to keep going.
Boy, well, not like I don't have enough to do, but I couldn't let that go. It's The Cage. It's the 60th anniversary of The Cage. I had to do it on the anniversary date. There was no way around it.
Are you having the woman on that was what are they called?
No, it's spoiler alerts from the.
I didn't know. I didn't even know you were going to do it. So.
There's a lot of static. Where did Cherry go? I can't see Cherry.
Oh man.
And I could see Vince in the background right now.
See, he has that power, and I'm still here. 243 episodes later, I'm still here.
Oh my goodness. And you know what? And this is Brennan's comment to all that.
Oh my goodness.
This is the secret word. It's the word of the day.
It hurts.
And and as I was starting to say, I could see Vince or Vinny, and he's just shaking his head saying, "Oh my God, I'm taking on something else now. Look at him."
No, he's not, Jeff.
Yeah, I need to be taking some meds.
He really does.
I need to be taking some serious meds, seriously. So anyway, but yeah, one day at a time. Just like the TV series from 1975, and this is a 70s show, so it's appropriate. Oh boy, here we go.
We should have that. That could be a new feature. We can touch on that at the end of every episode.
Anyway,
bringing you the latest.
Yeah, there you go. With that said, I hope you will join us on Wednesday for Sci-Fi Distilled at 7 p.m. and I hope you will join us on this show at 8:30. So for The Cage. Well, this was a fun evening. I think we touched upon a lot of interesting topics as we discussed Count Dracula.
No shower scenes.
No shower scenes.
No shower scenes.
No
I'm disappointed in that.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Let's pick a good one.
No, I don't know
It's going to be an unsploitation movie.
On that note, I don't know if my mom is watching tonight, but if she is, I love you, Mom.
Oh, hi, Betty.
So, you know, she's hanging in there. And thank you, everybody, for all your positive comments and prayers and everything. So it's one day at a time with everything, but she's doing good. She is super strong, and she's, you know, really trying to do everything she needs to. So it's just taking it step by step. So we'll know more in the next couple weeks with plans with the surgery and everything. So thank you for everything. Well, again, and I'm glad you're doing better, hon. You went through a lot of stuff yourself. So yeah, love you.
And I'm proud of you because your head has been spinning like The Exorcist. So proud of you doing the show, even, you know, with everything going on.
Aw, thanks. Oh boy, that's it. The nuns are cut off. On that note. On a positive note, Vince is saying that was fun, friends.
Aw, thanks, Vinny. Love you, Vinny.
So, as we like to always say.
Oh
wait, you're gonna go already?
Yeah, we're gonna sign off. Any last words? I'll let before you do a last word, I'll let Ross go first. Ross, go ahead.
Wait. Uh-oh, here it comes. See what happens when they take the fluoride out of the water?
Oh boy.
Is that candy corn? Oh, okay.
Ketchup.
Oh, I see.
And cheap fangs from Amazon.
Oh, you got those especially for this?
Mm-hmm.
You got us.
Good ketchup.
It was worth it.
I had fun. Thanks for having me on, guys, and happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks,
happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Thanks for coming on and joining us tonight, everybody. And glad you enjoyed the laughs. And hope you have a great week ahead. And be safe and live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.